All right, today we are diving into something truly revolutionary. We're going to explore how brand new digital technologies are completely changing the game for language research. Basically, how we understand the words we all use every single day.
So let me ask you this. What secrets are hiding in our language? Just think about it for a second. We're talking billions upon billions of words in books, on social media, in everyday conversations. What kind of patterns, what hidden meanings are buried inside that just massive mountain of text? Well, as it turns out, there's a whole field of science dedicated to digging them up.
And that science is called Corpus Linguistics. At its heart, it's about studying language by looking at enormous samples of real-world text. These are called corpora. By sifting through these huge datasets, researchers can spot the subtle rules and patterns that shape how we actually talk and write. It's kind of like being a detective, but for language itself.
But how did we get to this point? Well, that brings us to our first section, from manual to machine.
This right here really shows you the night and day difference. Not that long ago, if a researcher wanted to see how a specific word was used, they had to create something called a manual concordance. Imagine flipping through thousands of pages, writing down every single instance by hand. It was slow, painstaking, and you could only ever look at a tiny slice of data. Now, we've got digital tools that can do the same thing in the blink of an eye, across datasets that are just unbelievably massive. The leap is incredible.
And this timeline just lays it out perfectly. We started with those manual concordances in the past, and we moved into the present with digital databases, which just put the whole field into overdrive. And now we're stepping into the future, the age of AI-driven analysis, where machine learning is unlocking a whole new universe of insights.
So what's actually in this new toolkit? In Section 2, we're going to take a little tour. And believe me, these aren't just tools. They're practically superpowers for linguists. First on our list is Corpus Sense. The best way to think about this one is as the AI detective of the language world.
So what can this AI detective pull off? Well, it goes way, way beyond just counting words. It uses some seriously advanced natural language processing, which is basically how we teach computers to get what we mean, to do semantic searches. That means you can search for a concept or an idea, not just a specific keyword. It's also got a powerful multilingual model that can analyze things like sentiment, emotion, and rhetoric, which makes it an absolute game changer for fields like forensic linguistics or digging into social media trends.
Okay, next up we have Sketch Engine. Now, if Corpus Sense is the detective, then Sketch Engine is the lexicographer's best friend. This is the industry standard for folks who literally write our dictionaries and for professional translators.
Its real power is in showing how words are actually used out in the wild. It supports over 100 languages, and it's brilliant at finding collocations. That's just a fancy word for words that tend to hang out together. This is so important because it helps clarify the subtle, real-world meanings of words, which, as you can imagine, is absolutely critical if you're writing a dictionary or translating a really complex text.
So, what is the magic that's powering these amazing tools? That's what we're looking at in Section 3. The AI under the hood.
This AI didn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? It evolved in these really distinct stages. It started with neural machine translation, those early networks that really set the foundation. Then came the explosion of large language models, or LLMs. You hear about these all the time now, which gave these tools their incredible analytical horsepower. And today, we're in what's called the fine-tuning era, where we're tweaking these huge models for very specific jobs to make them even more accurate.
So what does all this AI get us? Well, first, automation. It takes care of the mountains of repetitive grunt work, which frees up researchers to focus on what people are best at, thinking critically, interpreting results, and asking bigger questions.
Second, precision. These tools can spot patterns and connections across millions of texts that would be completely invisible to the human eye. We're not just talking about being faster, we're talking about a level of accuracy that was just not possible before.
And finally, of course, scale. The ability to analyze these massive linguistic datasets. We're talking about the equivalent of entire libraries worth of books almost instantly. This opens up avenues for research that would have sounded like pure science fiction just a generation ago.
This is all really cool, but let's get down to it. Why does any of this matter in the real world? Let's check that out in Section 4, Language in the Real World.
You want to know one of the most exciting applications? Solving crimes. Seriously.
Welcome to the world of forensic linguistics. Using these corpus tools, investigators can perform what's called authorship attribution. Basically, figuring out who wrote a ransom note or a threatening email. They can scan texts for linguistic clues that suggest someone's lying. They can even create a linguistic profile to help narrow down a list of suspects. It's basically like a fingerprinting kit, but for words.
Okay, here's another really powerful use: uncovering media bias.
There's a method for this called corpus-assisted discourse analysis. Researchers use it to crunch data from thousands of news articles to find subtle biases in how different sources cover the exact same event. For instance, they can track how one outlet consistently calls a protest a riot while another calls it an uprising. Those different word choices completely shape how we see the world. It's like putting the media under a microscope.
So where is this all headed? Well, that brings us to our final section. The future is multimodal.
The next frontier here is just wow. On one hand, as the large language models keep getting smarter, the analysis is going to get even richer, even more nuanced. But the really big shift is the move to multimodal corpora. We're going beyond just written words. We're starting to build datasets that include video, audio, and even gesture data to get a full 360-degree view of communication. And this is all going to be powered by global, collaborative platforms where researchers from all over the world can share their work.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty deep question to think about. As we get better and better at teaching machines to understand our language in all its messy, beautiful complexity, what will they in turn teach us about ourselves?